If you want to be successful as a surveillance investigator, then make sure you never do these things. Never, I mean never park near schools, daycare facilities, or other similar places where children gather. This also goes for bus stops, especially school bus stops. Keep in mind that most bus services today in many cities also provide bus service for kids going to school. The first big problem with parking where there will be kids is that kids, especially young ones, notice everything, and they will notice you sitting inside your car. And this can be very problematic, to be sure. I had a surveillance job a while back where I stopped to grab a few seconds of video of my subject as she was walking from her car into a store a few blocks down. And when I pulled over, I didn't notice I was right by a crosswalk going over to a nearby school. As soon as I put my camera down and looked around for a better location to park, I looked over, and there is a mom and her two young kids, about 8 and 10. Mom thankfully had her face in her phone, so she saw nothing. She was just standing there waiting to cross the road. The kids, however, saw me and were staring right at me. Nothing bad happened. I just smiled, and the younger child smiled back and then waved at me. I then proceeded to drive away slowly, but I now had another problem. Mom did take notice when her daughter waved, and I don't think she thought anything about it, as I have that grandpa look about me. But I couldn't just circle around and park somewhere where she might see me or my vehicle on her walk back home. So that severely limited my possibilities of places to watch my subject. Now, everything worked out fine in that case. Nothing more happened. I got my video, and I followed my subject successfully for the remainder of the day. But it could have been much worse. If Mom or a crossing guard or anyone else had observed me with a camera up in a school area, well, you can imagine what might have happened. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. So make sure you are aware of where you are at all times and avoid setting up stationary surveillance, even for brief moments, in areas where there will be lots of children present. Have you ever had an instance where you got noticed by children while on surveillance? Let me know in the comments down below. While we're on the subject of stationary surveillance, make sure you never do stationary surveillance with your windows down. This should be a no-brainer, but I know many rookie PIs, and I was one of them once myself at one time, tend to forget this. Especially if we are following somebody on those hot summer days. I know after a long period of sitting on a house, when my subject leaves, I like to be able to roll down the window and get some fresh air. But when the subject parks and goes in somewhere, you need to make sure that your windows are up before you start shooting video. Windows down with a camera in hand can be a huge disaster, as everyone can see you sitting there with your camera pointed out the front window. And they don't know what you're doing, why you're doing it, or if what you're doing is even legal or not legal. If they look in the area where you're shooting the video and they see a young lady there, some kids, elderly people, or whatever, they will most likely assume you are up to no good. Also, with your side windows down, even if it is just a little bit, you are now letting in tons of light into your car. You can have the darkest tinted windows, but that little bit of light will make you much more visible through the windshield and make you more visible through the side windows too. That can jeopardize the entire investigation. There are obvious exceptions to this rule, like if you need to shoot out of an open window due to weather conditions like heavy rain, snow. But generally speaking, never do stationary surveillance with the windows down. Also, make sure you never do anything to antagonize neighbors or be confrontational with neighbors. I have seen some PIs get confrontational with neighbors when someone takes notice of them while on surveillance. Seriously, I was on a two-man case one time where me and the other PI were parked on opposite sides of the subject residence, and we were both about 3 blocks away from the subject house, so 6 blocks from each other. The case was going really well. We successfully followed our subject multiple times over multiple days and had tons of video. Then on the last day, the other PI noticed a neighbor who had been watching him for a couple of days, standing inside his garage and staring at him again. The other PI, for whatever reason, I have no idea why, but he got out of his car and started yelling at the neighbor, trying to tell him this is a public street and he had the right to sit in his car there. After he let off some steam, he got back in his car. The neighbor went inside his house, and about 10 minutes later, the neighbor came back out. his front door, and he just stood there. Then I saw several other neighbors come out of their houses and just stand there. Then I saw 2 patrol cars, one coming from behind the PI and the other one from my direction. The cars pinned him in, one in front and one in back. The officers got out of their cars with guns drawn and started yelling for him to get out of his car. Then I see a 3rd cop car arrive that was in close proximity to me doing backup for the other cops. They get the other PI out and he's steaming. He's yelling about his rights. They get him patted down and then he starts to calm down a little bit after they talk to him. I decided to get out and go talk to the officer who was nearby. As I approached, I told him who I was. I had my driver's license, my PI license, and I showed them to him. I explained the situation without giving details about who our subject was and told him we were working the case together. He got on his cell phone and talked with someone, then he got on the radio, then I saw one of the officers with the other PI get on a cell phone, and then the 2 of them talked. I was too far away to hear exactly what they were talking about, but I assumed it was confirming what the other PI was doing. After about 15 minutes, the officer comes over to me and thanks me for talking to them. He says everything is in order, hands me back my stuff, then asks me if I was going to do surveillance again to please call in and to please talk with my partner about how he handles these situations. I was glad I was able to diffuse the situation to some extent and happy they didn't drag the other PI off in cuffs. So yeah, never antagonize or get confrontational with the neighbors or the police for that matter. Yes, you do have a legal right to sit in your car on a public street, but pushing the issue will cause more problems. Another thing to never do is to have passengers with you while on surveillance. This can go wrong in so many ways. I worked for another PI firm some time ago, and they would take rookie PIs out with them on drive-alongs as part of their training. And there's nothing wrong with this if it is a mock scenario, like you're driving around giving them tips and advice. But on a live surveillance, this is a huge no-no in my opinion. If you're going to have a rookie out there, have them in their own vehicle and they can observe at a safe distance and also act as a second PI to help out too. This company had 2 investigators teamed up on a case. Thank goodness I wasn't one of them. And when they pulled into the neighborhood, they both got out of the car's front seat and hopped into the car's back seat, which a lot of PIs do, but most will do it from the inside of the vehicle, not exiting the vehicle. But they thought it was early morning and no one would notice. But there is always that nosy granny neighbor in every neighborhood who is always standing or sitting by a window watching everything. And this neighborhood was no different. She saw them hop in the back seat, but she took matters into her own hands. You see, this was a tough area of town. Lots of illegal things happening all of the time, all hours of the day. So she called some of the other nosy neighbors, and they all went outside and started yelling at the PIs and telling them to leave. They were yelling things like, "No, you don't. Not in our neighborhood. Get out of here before we call the cops." And that was, of course, very embarrassing for both of those PIs as they got out of the car and tried to explain what they were doing, but it did no good. At least in this case, they just left the area and decided to do training a little differently. Now, with that case, it was reassigned to me, and I was able to go and get it done successfully, and it really did help as I knew where to not park. Another huge do not while on surveillance is to not do other work while out there on stationary surveillance. I know a lot of PIs will work on reports, do their video editing and other things, but this can cause a lot of issues with your case. First off, a laptop opened up will create tons of interior light and someone is more likely to notice you inside your car. Second, if your subject goes active, you now have to try to get video with your laptop sitting there on your lap, not to mention get your car started, put your laptop away, all safely, securely, and be able to go mobile without being noticed. And just setting your laptop on the passenger seat is an invitation for disaster, as it will most likely go sliding off at a high rate of speed while you are on mobile surveillance. And if your camera is open and you are playing back video, watching to see what you have so you can write your report, well, you most likely will lose the opportunity to get some valuable video of your subject. But worst of all, you may be so distracted you never even notice your subject went active until it is too late, like they are driving off, or you look up and you just see their car is gone. Stay focused at all times, do one thing at a time, do it well, then move on. Now, if you want more great tips for being a private investigator, then check out this video.